let's be real. Who do you think's gonna win the Jake Paul Ben Askren fight though?
Ooh, honestly, I'm kind of rooting for Ben Askren. I started rooting for Jake Paul, but I really have faith Ben Askren.
Why do you say that?
I think I've just been seeing more of his. I think what it is mentally. I think Jake Paul's gonna slip up. It seems like Ben Askren, his non-reactiveness towards Jake Paul or whatever he's throwing at him, is throwing Jake Paul off. At least that's what it seemed in the weigh-ins, or that interview. So I don't know if it's gonna carry over and it's gonna affect his performance, or
I would be willing to put a lot of money that Jake Paul's gonna knock this guy out. I just what, Kate? Well, I'm curious. What was that look for, Kate? You didn't expect me to say that, huh? I think Jake Paul's going to knock this motherfucker out. Here's why. Because when I was in high school, I was a senior, and I wasn't getting much playing time on the basketball court. And some kid in my video production class or whatever was like, I could beat PJ in basketball, because I used to go by PJ back then. I could beat PJ in basketball. And half my team was in that class, and they were like, motherfucker, no, you cannot. Like, what are you talking about? Because basketball is a very nuanced sport. If you don't play it, you just don't move like a basketball player. Like, there's a way to move on the basketball court. You know what I'm saying? And it's very nuanced to the same degree as fighting. That was my original argument for maybe Nate Robinson would understand that there is nuance to boxing and come in having prepared for some of the fucking basic shit that he would have to know. Clearly, I was wrong in my assessment of his IQ on how to. Maybe he's just a pure athlete. Apparently, he doesn't understand the nuance of different sports that have his levels to the shit. So, moral of the story is, I had to silence this motherfucker up right away. And so I said, let's go play basketball right now, motherfucker. And so we did. And guess what? 15-0. He didn't score a fucking point. Here's why I tell this story. Because Ben Askren, it doesn't matter how much in the head of this motherfucker he is, there's levels to this shit. And Ben Askren has been boxing for as long as Nate Robinson. Think about that. But Nate Robinson. I don't care. He's been wrestling. He's a wrestler from the UFC. He was arguably the worst striker the UFC has ever seen. There's one video on the internet of him nastying up a dude with his stand-up game. And I have it's almost like that dude was paid to get hit by Ben Askren, because his face was bloody and Ben was throwing the ugliest motherfucking punches I've ever seen. It's basically like love taps on your fucking face. And so this man is not a striker. He's been wrestling in the UFC for over 10 years. And so, yes, he's a good wrestler. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets frustrated when he's dazed and confused and tries to take Jake Paul down because he's in the ring and doesn't know what else to do. I could see that happening if he doesn't get knocked out cold right away. But the moral of the story is, even if Jake Paul is not a good boxer compared to someone like, King Ryan on Instagram, Ryan Garcia, which I would say arguably Jake Paul is a pretty good boxer who could potentially work his way up, you know what I'm saying? But there's levels to this shit. And Ben Askren has been boxing for just as long as Nate Robinson. Actually, if Nate Robinson has kept it up, Nate Robinson's been boxing for longer. And I would say that even though he's been fighting, I think the only thing that would give him is maybe another round more than Nate Robinson. So? Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think knocked out. Really? He's been proven to take a hit. And aside from the flying knee, I highly doubt that Jake Paul has that type of force to knock Ben Askren out.
I feel like people give him more credit for taking hits than, maybe I haven't seen all of his fights, but I did see the Robbie Lawler one or some of the other ones that people point out when he can take a hit or whatever. But here's the thing. When he gets hit in the UFC, he can go to his ground game right away. He can clinch up with this motherfucker and try to wrestle him right away to at least slow down the onslaught of punches coming at his head. There's none of that here. None of what he can resort to in the UFC applies. Even his stance that he's been ingraining for his entire life. In the UFC, you have to you have to prepare to potentially take a leg kick to your leg or a leg kick to your head. And so your stance is a lot more open. It's a lot more squared up potentially at times, right? You know what? I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about with stances, right? But I just know that you have to deal with a lot more threats coming from different places, to where in boxing, it's right here. You got 2 moves, or 2 weapons, right? Not 4 or 6, right? So
he has the clinch, right? If anything, Ben Askren could just kind of keep clenching.
I mean, that's like someone saying, but I can make a layup, so all I got to do is just make a bunch of layups. It is okay. It's not that simple, though.
He's gonna get frustrated because he's finally fighting someone who has the stamina to keep up with him, and Jake hasn't gone past how many rounds? How is he gonna hold up to going the full amount of rounds?
Okay. Well, why don't you guys go both bet me money and let's see who really.
I'll put 25.
You'll put 25 on it? Okay. Yep. I'll put 25. I put 25 on it. Jake Paul's gonna knock his ass out.
Well, okay, but all right. Well, we'll wait to see. We'll see what happens with the match. But I highly doubt he's gonna get knocked out. If anything, he'll win by points.
I would put 1,000 on it with Vegas, but I don't know if I'm about that life, because I don't really do sports betting. But 25, I'm down to do it. But I don't know. I'm just that confident in Jake Paul's boxing ability compared to Ben Askren. I do think Ben Askren has been really doing a great job of the marketing of the fight. He's been doing a good job at creating enough hype, as much as Jake Paul is, if not more, because of the press conference. But at the end of the day, just because someone is more non-reactive in a press conference, that might work if your skill level is close, or if even like this guy's even got a remote chance against you, right? But the skill level here is so much different. And I've listened to every significant UFC fighting commentator and boxing commentator on YouTube. I've been going down the rabbit hole in my free time, especially at night when I'm like not tired enough to go to bed, but I don't want to keep working. And so I'll be going down the rabbit hole of just hearing the experts' opinions on this fight. And I think because of commitment and consistency, I can't not watch the fight now. But at the same time, I just feel like everybody is calling out the press conference. Everybody's talking about how he's a fighter. Everybody's talking about how, he can take a motherfucking hit. But I just don't think that at the end of the day is going to be enough to make up for the skill difference here. The skill difference is just too massive.
I don't know. I feel like halfway through the match, Finish is going to go for that takedown. Fuck a boxing match.
But I don't know. I'm curious to know what the Vegas odds are. Anybody know what the Vegas odds are?
I believe they were like pretty close. It was like 46% and like, let me pull it up.
I don't know. Well, here's the thing. I'd be curious to know what happens. What happens if Jake Paul does knock him out? What happens to Ben Askren? What happens to Jake Paul? I feel like that's what everybody's already expecting to happen anyways. Like, has anybody thought about the repercussions that might come from Ben Askren beating Jake Paul in this fight? Because Jake Paul's boxing career is basically dead after that. It's dead in the water if he doesn't. Like, who's going to be interested in watching this guy fight anymore if he can't beat Ben Askren?
That's true, because that was like his main selling point almost. Like, I've been, 2-0?
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's another dangerous place to come from, because Jake Paul has way more to lose in this fight than Ben Askren. What? What are the odds?
Paul is currently sitting at -135, and Ben Askren is sitting at +115.
Okay. I guess that does seem pretty close, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I think it's just because people are writing on what you guys were saying, which is basically what a lot of people who are on the Ben Askren side of things are saying. But I learned last time you can't debate against skill, which is what I tried to do with Nate Robinson. I said he's an athlete. He's got stamina. Nate Robinson has stamina. I promise you that. If he had boxing skill, hypothetically, he could have made it to the last round. Okay, Ben Askren could do the same thing. I don't give a fuck. It didn't make a difference.
I don't know. We'll see when they fight on Saturday, but I really think Askren has a chance.
Okay. So what? I don't know. I think I feel like just because Jake Paul has way more to lose and he's got more skill, what is Ben Askren bringing to the fight, you know?
As far as like what he has to gain or what.
If he wins, maybe he takes on another fight, but maybe not. He's said himself, he doesn't necessarily want to keep fighting. He's already retired. And he also said if he loses, so what? He's already lost in the most profound way you can lose. And worst case, he just goes back and keeps coaching at his wrestling gyms. So it's like his life isn't going to change one way or the other, and he doesn't give a shit about the online clout. So he doesn't have a lot to fight for. Jake has way more to fight for than him. Jake's also been doing this for 3 years. And here's the thing. You don't think, I would hope at least Jake Paul's at least smart enough to be boxing people who are wrestlers, who are going to try to clinch him a lot, who are going to try to be doing a lot of what else can Ben Askren do? Ben Askren has been talking about his game plan this entire time. And it's because it's the only game plan that you can possibly go with if you have that little skill. So
watch it work out though.
Kate, you are so angry about this.
Because you're being so like, you keep saying Jake has so much skill. You literally just said he's been boxing for 3 years. I can throw a better punch in 2 days than Jake can pull in 3 years.
Real?
So for you to say that Jake has so much skill and Ben Askren has none, I'm sorry, have you seen that motherfucker fight? Have you seen the blood he brings out of people? I have not
Ben
seen
Askren?
that once. Yes.
I don't know. I don't know about that.
You went down the rabbit hole, but you've been going down the rabbit hole on the side of Jake. You have not been.
Ironically, I've been going down the rabbit hole on the side of Ben Askren because
No, you have not, because I've been watching those videos and you have not. You have not done the research on Ben Askren. So you do not know what you're talking about.
I do.
that he
I've
doesn't
watched a
have
ton of Ben
skill.
Askren content. His
You watched
videos
the
are
Impulsive.
hilarious.
You watch the Impulsive.
His videos are hilarious. And yes, I've arguably watched less of the Jake Paul hype than I have of the Ben Askren hype because I'm trying to be convinced that Ben Askren has a fighting chance. And I don't think he does.
I think a lot of people are posting more videos about Ben Askren though, realistically.
Because of the press conference, which I think in retrospect is going to look extremely like a waste of time because I feel like I truly believe in this. He's going to get beat in embarrassing fashion and everybody's going to be like, well, I guess the press conference didn't mean jack shit. You're damn right. You know?
Patrick, the whole part of a fight is the press conference. Like, you say, oh, he didn't react. Yeah, because he has to start that fucking game from the beginning. Because you may think it's all about skill, but it's a fucking mental game, Patrick. It's a mental game because he has to be ready for Jake to tire himself out so then he can jump in third round and beat the fuck out of him.
Okay.
It's a mental game. It's not just it going in there and throwing hands. Boxing is strategy. It's as your friend said, it's like chess. So you can't just
Which one of my friends said that?
Diego said
Oh.
it's like chess. It's a strategy. It's mental. It's not just the biggest group going in there and fighting people. That's the way they do it in Russia. Not here.
Mhm.
Here it's mental. So from day one, Jake's been acting like a fool, acting like a child.
He's called the problem child for a reason.
And Ben
He's got a problem bot.
Yeah.
Ben is looking for those things so he can start to get into Jake's head. Because every time Jake has fought someone, every time they've had a press conference, it's been reactive. It's been combative. He's now facing someone that made him sit back and go, oh shit, he didn't respond to my dig that I just gave him. What the fuck's wrong with him? Because now he's thinking more about what Ben's thinking and what the fuck's going on with him, rather than focusing on his hands and where they're supposed to be.
Well, I guess there's only one way to settle this,
That's what I'm saying.
and that's in the bedroom.
na na.